Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Human Reconnect.
Everyone. Hello.
So, as always, we want to start our episode off by just reflecting back on our weekly challenge from the previous episode, and that was looking at the ways that our current social groups maybe prevent or get in the way of connecting with other social groups. I can kick us off on that, and something that I noticed this past week with I think the challenge for me personally was the comfort and the safety of my current social groups, the groups that I know that we can laugh, we can cut up, we can really kind of just be ourselves and not worry about repercussions or someone to contradict me, right? I think
Yeah.
that's also something else that's a big piece is I don't want someone to go, "Hey, that's not right," or "Hey, you can't make those jokes," or "You can't say those things." So if I'm in my social groups that I'm comfortable with, I'm not really interested in hanging out or meeting people that might oppose those or might make me feel unsafe or unable to kind of express those ideas and those jokes and things like that.
Mhm.
So I think that was one way that maybe social groups stopped me from hanging out with others, or even more so of what I observed from other people in other social groups.
Yeah.
So,
Like
like,
the predictability of those groups. I know what
yes,
to expect from them. I know how they're going to respond, how they're going to react. I know what they believe and what they feel
yeah,
with whatever that is at.
yep.
Yeah.
And I know that they'll engage if I make those
Yes.
jokes. Yeah, so that was like something that I observed in myself, but also in other people, such as my husband. So, but
Mm.
yeah, that was my challenge.
Yeah.
I know something similar. That my like group of friends with my husband, they're like primarily more introverted. So I think if I were to bring a new human into our group, it would make them very uncomfortable. And they're very
Mhm.
comfortable in the group that we have, even if it's small. So I kind of thought about that. If it's like any type of new friend that I have, I normally have them live separate from my like main group of friends just because they are kind of very similar to what you said. Like, and a saying that Olivia taught me is like knowing the rules to the game. We already know the rules to the game with each other. Like we know what's appropriate to talk about, the things we have in common, the things that we agree on. We can make more if it's like crude jokes or talk about things that are more taboo because we have that comfort. And then bringing someone new, I mean, they're introverted, they're not interested in having a bigger group versus I would be interested in having a bigger group. And I think it's that safety piece too.
Yeah.
If they don't I don't know what I can say around them, so now I'm, like, tiptoeing and I'm walking on eggshells, and I know that doesn't feel good, but also that's how we grow too. So it's
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah,
It
that's a
is.
good point that you made, introverts and extroverts too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think introverts have their very select social groups,
Yeah.
so versus extroverts.
Think to out myself a little, I don't think I really have many groups. And I don't think I've ever had many groups as I've reflected on
Mhm.
it. Besides, like, outside of teams.
Okay. Yep.
Which is totally a group
Yep.
and totally something that
Mhm.
I was a big part of is, like, teams with
Yep.
sports. But, like, relationship-wise, I've always kind of, like, had a friendship, a friendship, a friendship, but, like, it
Yes.
was not a big group of people, and I think there is probably just safety in that. Like, there's
Mhm.
not multiple humans, personalities, opinions to be managing at once, and so I think the safety in that. And then I think, yeah, the more you guys talk, it's probably just the comfort of not having to put myself in a uncomfortable, unknown position. Because I know it's been a big goal of mine, like, to get more involved in the community and be part of some more groups or, yeah, be part of more groups. But I think moving also impacts that a lot.
Mm,
Like, I've not been in the same spot for the last, like, 4 or 5 years. So that
that's a
plays a big
big
role.
yep,
That plays a
yep.
big role. So I've kept relationships from all those different eras, but, like, not really groups as much. And I think for groups to stay present, I think there needs to be some sort of, like, closeness, proximity. That's the word I was looking for.
Yep.
I couldn't come up with it, but there needs to be proximity, and I think I've been missing that for a while. So, I was telling you guys earlier, but I would like to just settle and, like,
Yes,
stay put
yes.
so I could start to create some of those
Mm.
groups. So I think but yeah, the comfort, the intimidation of putting yourself out there in a group because
Yeah.
it's not just you and another, it's you and
Mhm.
others, which is
Yes.
really intimidating. Yeah.
Yeah. Then if you like grew up and you're always changing your group, like you're going and moving, it's harder to make a group that is like formed. Like I feel like one thing my husband taught me is how long it actually takes for me personally to like build trust with someone. I thought that I would trust him in a few years, but I think that like it takes a lot of time to build even one relationship that holds a lot of trust versus like building this big group that grows together and moves together and stays in proximity with one another.
Yeah. there's a lot more moving parts to a group,
Yes,
so
for sure.
Yes. Olivia, I'm glad you said what you mentioned about moving around a lot because something that I think we probably don't give enough credit or acknowledgement to is how easily people move nowadays.
yeah.
I think used to traditionally you're born somewhere, you grew up there, you lived there, you died there.
Yeah,
Just because to move across country, you didn't have access to U-Haul or planes that would fly your stuff over or fly you over, whatever. And so I think that's become easier and easier to just pack up and say, hey, I'm going to move to Oregon while my family lives in Pennsylvania. So I think that creates kind of more of that mobility and it makes it harder to get plugged into those groups more long term because of how quickly and easily we can just move. And not that it's a bad thing, because obviously for career, for spouses, for new beginnings, whatever that looks like for you, it's not necessarily a negative, but it also, you know, can be a barrier to getting plugged in. So,
yeah.
yeah. If you're gonna invest the time and the energy and the effort, you want it to be something hopefully longer term that, allows you to get plugged in and stay plugged in.
And I think community takes a while to build. It's not something that just happens overnight. Trust is a big part of
Yep.
community. Proximity is a big part of that. Time, effort, energy, all those things go into that. And so it is something where I feel like you need to be settled and start to build that community. And it just takes time.
Mhm.
And probably one person at a time, one group at a
Yeah.
time, one
Yeah.
experience at a time. And then the more and more people you connect with, the quicker that builds too, because then you have all these people who then know someone or something and invite
Yes.
you to something and all that.
Yeah.
And then, like, the cool piece is now you, like, have all of your people that you met along the way, and then, like, for example, at your wedding, they all get to come together, and that's gonna be such a cool and they
Yeah.
already have been able to come together.
Yes, yeah, they all got to meet finally in June when Josh and I got engaged, which was really
Mhm. That's
cool, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I know you," because obviously they
yes,
hear
you're
about each other
welcome.
from me, and they've known each other's names for a while, and now, like, the coolest experience for me has been, like, every time I get on the phone with one of them, they're like, "How are they doing? How's this going? Oh, I wanted to check in. Did they get this job that they wanted?" Which is really cool
Yes.
that, like, they're
So
all,
cute.
like, interested
Yeah.
and still, like, staying up to date and connected with one another, which was a very big point of, like, pride for
Oh,
me, I
yeah.
think, in my life that, like, all
Yeah.
my people like each other, and so I'm like, "Oh,
Yes.
I've curated a really cool group of people." So that
A
was
little master curator.
yes, yes, that was a fun moment,
Yeah,
so
that is cool.
mm,
And that's so nice and almost relieving to
yeah,
know that everyone is, invested and interested in each other. So that's really
it
cool.
is cool.
And I think that's a good segue into kind of our topic for this episode.
Yeah,
Topic for this week is mindfulness and connection. So, how are we being mindful in the ways that we connect, how we connect, when we connect? So, just I guess overall, do either of you guys have a good definition of mindfulness that like resonates with you? Because I had the textbook one, right?
okay,
And I can give that, but I'm curious if there's a way that you guys describe mindfulness.
Maybe all of our, like, personal ways.
you go first.
Okay. I feel like mindfulness to me is being in the present moment, and that's, like, why that's so important to me is I've experienced a lot of anxiety in my life where I feel like I have a hard time being in the present moment, always thinking about, like, what could happen or what has happened, and so I think that's why when I think of mindfulness, I really try to stay grounded in being right here, right now, in this moment, because I can't control what's going to happen, and I can't control what's happened or change it, so that's what I always like to lean on.
Yeah, I think present is a beautiful word for it, and then for me, there's that, like, mind-body connection going on too.
Mm,
I live in my head a lot. Like, I feel like that is where I live, and so to be mindful is to be present and connected with my body as well, not just up in my head going through the motions, thinking about what's next, which brings us back to that present, but I think the mind-body connection is another important part for me of being mindful.
yeah, absolutely. And you guys pretty much covered the textbook definition of mindfulness
Oh,
too.
So we have a
awesome.
little
Yes. So the textbook definition is just, it is that being present, being connected to your mind and body, but being present in the current moment as it is. So,
As it is.
yes,
oh,
as it
truly
is without
That's it.
judgment, right?
yeah.
So that's part of that being mindful in, when you're eating, when you're taking a shower, when you're talking to someone, when you're at your job, when you're completing a task, right? So many times as humans, we get wrapped up in that next moment versus being in the present moment. So, really, whenever I think of mindfulness, for me personally, I think of it as what is going on right now in this moment. In this moment, I'm taking a hot shower and I'm putting shampoo on my hair and it smells good and I like the way it smells. Whereas normally, if you're not being mindful, you're thinking about the text messages, the calls that you've got to make, the emails you want to
Mhm.
forward, right? And before you know it, your shower's over and you don't even remember what you did in your shower. So that's an example of, not being mindful. And so for me, I really try to focus on the present moment as it is. So I'm not really changing anything. I am just living through it. I'm being connected to my body, my mind, how I'm feeling,
Yeah.
what's happening around me.
Yeah, you brought up a cool point too of,
Mhm.
like, smelling your shampoo, like,
Yep.
engaging our 5
The
senses is a big
senses.
part of it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And clinically, that's a big part of what we do at our jobs currently,
Mm.
right? We really want to connect our clients back to their bodies and back to their senses because anxiety, depression will have you living outside of that, right? I'm depressed because I'm lonely. Well, in this current moment, you're not. You've got other people around you, right? I'm not lonely right now. I'm with Olivia and Amanda. I'm talking to them. We're doing this podcast. So for me to live outside of that moment, I'm not acknowledging actually where I'm at. I'm not being mindful of that.
Yeah. It reminds me of when I went to volleyball on Wednesday. We would play a game, and then at the end, we would take like around 5-minute break where we
Mhm.
can get water and, go to the bathroom, do whatever we need to do. And I was just noticing how I'm pretty sure almost everyone went straight to the bleachers and straight onto their phones. And I was just kind of observing because one thing I've worked on is just being present in the moment. I think it's very easy to say, okay, I could go straight into my phone. It's a safe place. It's something I can focus and zone into. And maybe that was just something that made me think of like, how am I going to use this moment right now? I could go into my phone. I could go and watch a video, or like, what does my body need? Does it need a sip of water? Do I need to go to the bathroom? I needed to like stay standing up and kind of moving my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what you're speaking to in my mind is, like, we have to, I think, work a lot harder and be a lot more intentional about being mindful
Yeah.
because there is so many distractions
Yes.
at
Yes.
our fingertips, and there is so much sensory input and overstimulation, and I can distract myself within I could put my AirPods in, listen to music, text a friend, and be walking around, like, that's a lot going on at once,
It
there's no way you're
is.
present,
Yep.
so we actually have to work a lot harder to be more intentional about taking our breaks and finding moments that we can just be, and I think that for me is that mindfulness, is just being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that, Olivia, because that makes me think, and, viewers, obviously, if you have any feedback on this, but I I think you're speaking to the fact that it is harder to be mindful
Mhm.
than it is to be distracted, right? It's not hard to pull out your phone and work on your taxes in a 5-minute break in between volleyball games because you've got access to it,
Yeah.
right? Whereas maybe 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't even
You were just
something
at
you could
volleyball.
do. You were just at
Yep.
volleyball. You couldn't access your taxes. You couldn't look at your paycheck. You couldn't do any of the things that now we can at any point of time of day. I mean, I'm thinking about the times that even within my job, there are times where I can pull out my phone and I'm working on, getting fencing quotes for my house. And it's like, I'm in a therapy office, you know, but I have a small window of time and it takes me 30 seconds to send out a text. And now I am in a completely different world. So it's very hard to be present and to allow yourself to not get distracted
Yeah.
because our minds are constantly looking for that next, okay, what can I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think something like an example that pops into my mind was like peak COVID, I think is when we realized like we can actually do everything virtually. You can attend everything, right?
Yes.
Like you can be part of everything,
Yes.
you can attend everything. We can find a way to connect, which I want to name was like really important during a time where we were all isolated,
Yes.
we were all separated, like we needed to find a way to connect. And I think technology was a great way for us to find a way and to be
Absolutely.
able to connect. So I want to give weight to that too.
Yep.
But I know for me, like COVID, like class, well, I guess we were like kind of wrapping up COVID. Things had eased up, but it was my senior year. My grandfather passed and I went home and I had to get on classes when I went
Yep.
home. And I remember I was with a professor I felt super safe with. I really appreciated. And he asked we were on some similar topic like this in class, talking about
Mhm.
something like that. And I said, you know, I am on a class because I can get on my computer. I can get on the link. I think everyone was virtual too. I think it was a
Mhm.
virtual class at the time.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't have an excuse to not be able to get on it. But I should have been present with my family grieving my grandfather instead of having to
Yeah.
take the time to go and separate. And I named it, and he was great and awesome about it. And we had a great
Mhm.
discussion. And one, like at graduation, one of the like my peers that was in the class with me was like, that has stuck with me ever since
Mhm.
because like we're as much as like we're always connected. There is negatives to always being connected. I
Yeah.
wanted to just be present. I just wanted to be going through old pictures, helping my parents with what I needed to, being there, being a support. And I had to like step away to be a part of a class and like shift my mind into like, I'm all good. It's time for class. Like, and that wasn't being mindful. That wasn't being present. That was like pushing myself to move on to the next thing. And I think it's interesting how like we are always connected now. And I don't know how healthy that
Mhm.
is because we have to work so much harder
Yes.
to be mindful and present since I could get an email from work when I hop out of the shower,
Yep.
and like, how do I then ignore that? Like it's there,
Yep.
it's on my
Mhm.
phone. I'm always dialed in. So we have to work a lot harder to like find that space to just be present.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. And I like what you said too about it's almost, I think we use the analogy of the pendulum a lot, right?
Yeah.
Swings from one extreme all the way to the
To the
other,
next. Yep.
whereas really the balance is in the middle. And so, I think we go from one extreme of our parents didn't have cell phones, they didn't have Life 360, they were out past dark. The parents didn't know where they were,
Mhm.
but also you had a sharp rise in serial killings, right? You had a sharp rise in kidnappings. I mean, safety overall was different and it looked
Yeah.
different. There wasn't the awareness that there is now about child predators, right? And family friends and being mindful of what happens. And so that connection probably was a little bit more disjointed. Whereas now it is so extreme
Yeah.
that we lose the ability to truly connect with our family members, with
Mhm.
our friends, with our social groups, anybody, because we're so connected to everything else at the same time that it's really hard for us to just be connected to one other person. And so I don't know, that's a really big, I think, struggle even for me is whenever I'm having a conversation with someone, I have to mentally tell myself I am not going to look at my phone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I am not gonna pull it out. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna, look at the weather for tomorrow. I'm not gonna text my horse trainer because I'm excited for I have to just be in that moment. And it's an hour or an hour and a half. And in my brain, I'm thinking, this is terrible. But it's not. And I enjoy that time. I enjoy connecting with others, but it's become so bad that my brain thinks that it needs that check or that hit or whatever, that connection to something else. Because if I'm just sitting there for an hour and a half, I'm wasting time or I'm burning it. When in reality, it's still just as meaningful.
Yeah, like, reminds me of the saying, like, there's too little hours in the day
Mhm.
where, like, with more access to, like, technology, there's more we can do and accomplish, but are you really doing it if half of your brain is in one place and half's in the other, and I have all of these to-do lists and
Mhm.
so much to do. It's just yeah, it's made it so much harder to be present, and how much is that even real, like, the to-do lists we have? Like, I think it comes down to priorities too, like what we prioritize. Because I know I really struggle to prioritize being mindful because I
Mhm.
have all my to-do lists in my head and all these things I could be doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's making me think of that too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we almost have to give ourselves permission to be present.
Yeah.
And like seriously,
Which
like
is terrible.
which is terrible. Like
Yeah.
before COVID, there would have never even been an option for me to join my class virtually.
Nope.
I would have just
Right.
been out of town.
You would have just been absent.
And my
Yeah.
teachers would have been like, no worries, take the time.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
they were all great and fabulous. It wouldn't have been like, you can hop on this
Yep.
link.
Yep. No
That
matter
would have,
where you're at.
no matter where you're at,
Yep.
that wouldn't have been a thing. I had
Right.
never even done virtual classes at that
Mhm.
point. So that was like a whole new world. And it was just a moment of like, I didn't feel like I had permission to just disconnect and be present with the humans that I was
Yeah.
with, and like it's almost like we need permission to step away, to be present because yeah, like I could sit in my car and be talking to somebody or
Yep.
cars drive themselves now so you can get
Yeah.
work done in your
Yeah,
car.
you
Like
can
you're not
set your
even
car and let
present.
it.
It's wild like how much harder it's getting to be present. Because it's not even like I think about, oh shoot, I forgot to pay this. And then it has to go away because I'm on a boat right now, we're out to lunch and I can't do it.
Yep.
It's like, no, I can. I have this mobile tablet in my pocket
Yep.
that I can just get it done now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like we need permission to be present.
Yeah. And that's something that I've noticed with my husband is he, with him running his business, he has access to Facebook Messenger, his client platform, like the way that clients message him and send out quotes and stuff. And it doesn't matter what time of day it is. I mean, he's responding because he it's easy and it's right there and it's
Mhm.
on his phone and people are texting him asking for quotes at 11 PM. Well, if he's up, he's going to respond because it's right there. I can do that. Whereas used to, you had a landline phone, and once you left the shop for the day, any calls that were made after hours, you would just get the next
Yeah.
morning.
You just listen to the messages.
But that's not how it is nowadays. And it's also really interesting to me because they're boundaries that we have to set.
Yeah.
We have to set, but it's hard to set them because it would take me 30 seconds to respond, you know?
Yeah. And
And
regardless, it's already entered my mental load. I
yep,
know Jimmy John
regardless, yep,
asked me for
a
a
quote.
quote. So I've already thought about it.
Yep,
And then if I don't answer it now, I'm going to forget it because there's not a message on my answering machine. I already looked at the message on my phone.
Yep.
yep, yep,
So if it's not there, then I missed answering this person who could have been a potential client.
right.
It's like why it's so important for us to not beat ourselves up because we're speaking about all these places where it's just our brains were not meant to hold so much information.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about that in a past episode. I'm also thinking a lot about how like we use distractions as a way to try to handle our emotions or distract from our emotions or to try to tolerate an uncomfortable situation. Like if I am preparing for a really stressful test, if I'm about to go take my driver's test, I can just hop on my phone and distract myself for just a moment of this uncomfortable feeling that I have, or the stress that I have, or the fear that I have. And I know I've gotten used to that. So that's something I have to think about. Am I using this as a way to distract myself from something else? And that takes a lot of mindfulness and a lot of work, and it's really hard work. And I mean, I feel like I'm still learning that piece too.
Yeah. And to get like really clinical, like we know the cycle of anxiety is like something makes us anxious and we want to avoid it. That's
Yep.
what every human does when they're
Yep.
anxious. Something makes me anxious and I want to avoid it.
Yep.
And the more we avoid it, the more we create because anxiety is the belief that I can't handle this, right? That's what anxiety is. It's the belief that I have that I can't handle this event. Because if you're anxious about, not making the basketball team, but you know what? I can try out again next year. I'll practice harder. I
Yep.
could handle that rejection. It would sting.
Yep.
It would be hard. It wouldn't be fun, but I know I could handle it.
Yeah.
Then like you're not going to be as anxious. But if you're like, that would crush my world, I could never go to school again,
Yep.
right? It's like the fear that I can't handle the outcome. And the more that you avoid it, then the more you perpetuate that belief that I can't handle
can't
this,
do it.
Yes.
that I can't do this. Now we have something that's continuously distracting us. So now it's like, yeah, I never have an awkward conversation in the elevator. So if my phone is dead, I'm pretending it's alive on the elevator because I can't have this awkward conversation. But if you've had 15 awkward conversations and maybe 5 of them were incredible and you
Yep.
got to have a really nice interaction with someone, well, you're no longer going to feel the need to pull your phone out because you believe that you can handle the awkward conversation in
Right.
the
Yeah.
elevator.
Yep.
And so I think, yeah, having that at our fingertips really just it becomes a safety item of like,
It is
I can continue to
very
avoid because I have this item.
yes, very much a safety item. What a benefit, right? What a good thing in some situations to have that safety item. You're
Mm.
looking at me like you don't believe it.
Depends.
In certain cases, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
like
my tire pops on the side of the road and I
right.
need to call you to come pick me up.
Yeah,
That is
yep.
totally important.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we are surrounded by people who are not willing to have a conversation and maybe not even an awkward conversation, but just hostile, it is
Mhm.
nice to have that safety net of, okay, I've got this if I need it. This is my exit strategy, right? Like, okay. Or, if you're on a bad first date and you can text your friend to call you and be like, "I'm ready to leave." Right? It is nice to have that idea of safety and comfort. However, it does suck because it goes beyond just the unsafe or the uncomfortable. It does stop you from having conversations. When you have a 5-minute volleyball break, everyone immediately pulls out their phone and no one's connecting. No one's being mindful in that moment anymore because during that break, it's my phone time. I need to check it. I need to check in with my people, right?
Mhm.
Because my people may not be here. I may not know Amanda as well as I know people that I play soccer with, right? And so for me, it's going to feel much more safe to talk to the people that I play soccer with instead of talking to the people that I'm currently playing volleyball with. So it's just mindfulness is hard.
It's
Yeah.
so hard.
Yeah.
It's not an
Yeah.
easy conversation.
Yes. And then I think of some of the moments that I've had that I have been truly present and mindful, and they're some of the
Oh,
most incredible memories I feel like that we probably have and like that you walk away from and you're just like, wow, I feel like truly a sense of peace and clarity probably is a
yeah.
good word for it. Like when we went to we drove the Costa Brava um in Spain and I forgot my phone. And I was like, "Oh, shit, like, I forgot my phone, and I'm not gonna be able to take pictures of all these incredible coves because we were, like, driving the coast and we stopped at all these coves and everything else, but I can remember everything that we saw and everything that we did and all the places that we went to, which I feel like we did so many things on that trip. We were in Barcelona, it was the last stop of our trip, and I remember it like that the most clearly because I didn't have a distraction, I was just there, and luckily I had the luxury of, like, people with me had a phone, so they
Yep.
took a picture, we were safe, if something happened, we had a GPS, like, I didn't
Yep.
need my phone, and it was so incredible not to have it, and that is, like, one of my favorite things is getting in a body of water, so I got in, like, multiple that day, so I think I was probably living my best life
Yes.
anyways, but
Yep.
yeah, I was just, like, truly present, I didn't have and also it took away responsibility for me. I didn't have to take pictures, I didn't have to do the GPS. I didn't have anything to be helpful with either, so it, like, took responsibility away too, and I just got to be present, and that's probably, like, one of my best memories, like, that was
Yeah.
amazing. I'll never forget that. That was so fun.
One of the funnest things that I do, and this is stupid, and it's pitiful. Okay, but one of the funnest things I do is I'll go to the grocery store and I'll purposely leave my phone at home
Mhm.
so that while I'm shopping, I'm forcing myself to remember 1, what was on my grocery list, 2, what are
Yeah.
some meals that I enjoy cooking, and 3, I'm just shopping. I'm not doing anything else. I'm piddling through the aisles, right? Because I love to piddle. Okay. I'm checking
Yes.
out the food. I'm looking at prices, even if I don't talk to anyone necessarily, I just have that freedom to kind of be in that moment and be in the grocery store and no one can call me. I'm not getting texts. I'm not,
Yes.
yeah. So, and also I think it helps my memory, because I'm sitting there and I'm actually having to reflect and think back and remember, okay, what did I need? What was it? What was
What a cool
yeah,
exercise.
and I
Yeah.
enjoy that, and that's one way, one very small way, but, you know
Ooh, I don't know if that is a small way. That's something you do consistently that you're allowing yourself the time. And then to deal with too, like, I might forget things.
Yeah,
Like, and I'm
yep,
human and I
yeah,
make mistakes.
Yeah.
exa
ChatGPT is not gonna forget that. My to-do list on my
right,
phone is not gonna forget
yeah,
it, but, like, we're human. Like, you are gonna forget something.
yes,
Like, we forget things from the
yep,
grocery store. Like, it happens.
yeah,
And, like, just what a cool
yeah,
being present, being human. I might have forgotten something. It is what it is.
in
Not
our
trying to
grocery
change the moment.
right, yeah, and our grocery store's 5 minutes away from my house, so if I do forget it, I just go right back.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, but yeah,
I feel like it makes Taylor very angry, but I love to leave my phone at home, and I think just more angry as in there's that safety component. It's
yeah,
like, if my car breaks down, what do I do? But, like, we used to make it work, I wanna have faith in humanity that if something happens to my car, I have Taylor's number memorized, but also it is such a weight off your shoulders to just feel free that my phone will make no noise, no one will contact me, I'm gonna do what I need to do for a little bit, and it's normally, like, going to the park with my dogs, going on an adventure, going to the grocery
mhm,
store. Yeah. And then I feel like a lot of some people may justify taking a photo to remember a moment, but it's really cool to hear from you that just being present in that moment created this vivid memory in my head that will live and be, and you can, like, think back on it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember that
Yeah.
next time.
I think it's healthy to not always be connected,
Yep.
so you can be connected with the people you're truly with. Like, I think about going on girls' trips, and it's like someone is texting their partner or their boyfriend the entire time, and it's like, are you
Mhm.
truly present with us? Because that relationship is still present here, and quite frankly, the boys weren't part of the trip.
Nope.
This is a girls' trip.
Yeah,
Get them
fair.
out of here. And then I just think about, times that so much, drama has happened because of external things.
Ooh, elaborate.
Like, I go on to Snapchat and I see so and so is with so and they weren't supposed to be,
Yes.
and then I'm anxious now
'Cause you
in the
got left
present.
out or
Yeah, because, oh my gosh, what are they doing together? Or right, so much in high school, I think of all the times that we've seen stuff on social media. Like, I'm hanging out with Amanda, and you, Courtney, were supposed to come hang out with us, but you went and hung out with Chelsea and you didn't invite us or whatever. And then me and Amanda are mad now and it's ruining the moment that we're
Yes.
having because I saw something on my phone that you were doing. And I just think it brings external things in and takes us out from the present moment. And I just don't know if we were meant to see all these things. I just don't know if
Yeah.
our brains were meant to see all these things and have to
Mhm.
I should be allowed to just hang out with Amanda and not be worried about what you're doing and should have really
Right.
never known. Maybe
Yeah.
someone would have slipped up or you would have slipped up later and I would have been mad, but we would have enjoyed our time and not been
Right. You wouldn't have already
distracted.
been distracted going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I think of all the spring break trips I've been on and we find out that so and so's boyfriend is out doing something that he's not supposed to be doing. And then we spend our entire girls' night
Mhm.
dealing with the crisis.
Yeah.
Or so and so's boyfriend hasn't texted them back in 6 hours and
Yeah.
now we're all up in arms. Or
Right.
I'm out of the country and so so's girlfriend's not talking to them now. And it's ruining the trip. And
Yeah,
we're out of the country.
and you're time zones away,
Time zones.
and
Away.
you're
Not be able
it's
to talk
3
to the
AM.
kids. And we're all well, maybe it was this, or maybe they meant this by this elusive
Yeah.
text message they sent. And now we're all deciphering the text message, which are also, I want to name, some really fun ways to connect and to be
Yes.
girls and to,
Yeah.
You're like little
be in the moment.
sleuths.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. So I want to name that too. But I do think it takes us out of the moment so
Yep.
much because we're not truly disconnecting from other
No.
relationships. So maybe me and my fiance got in a big fight and now I'm still fighting with him, but we're all having this podcast right now talking, but I'm over here still in a fight. How can you truly be present in both
Right.
moments?
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting thing too. It'll never truly and is that healthy to never be disconnected from someone?
No.
I don't know. I don't
I don't
know.
think so.
I
I think that
mean,
No.
creates such a strong codependence, and I think there's definitely benefits to being independent and self-reliant,
yeah.
right? Because you almost have to be. If you're so codependent on others, then it does become overwhelming, and then I also think their stress becomes your stress, and now you're anxious because of someone else,
Yeah,
and
we're
it's like, "Whoa,
intertwined.
this
Yeah.
isn't even mine," this is someone else's, and so it's something that I want to ask you guys a little bit about, kind of on that note, is how are you guys seeing mindfulness show up in connection? And that's probably a very duh, we've been talking about it. But how has it impacted your all's connections? How has it impacted the way that you hang out with friends, the way that you hang out with heck, I mean, with us, we're coworkers, right? So how does that impact us, when we're in this setting together? How is it impacting when we connect with others socially that maybe aren't friends? Maybe they're more acquaintances, right? How does that connection, how does being mindful?
I think the more I practice mindfulness, the more comfortable I am being uncomfortable or sitting in discomfort
Okay.
when I'm not practicing mindfulness. And I have been avoiding and
Yeah.
running a mile a minute is what that typically looks like for me. I just keep moving. I never stop.
Yeah.
I'm living in my brain. I'm not taking a moment to connect back with my
Yeah.
body, which I know I made a point to say, it's that mind body connection for me. Then I am distracted because I can't be uncomfortable. So if we're out with acquaintances that I don't know, I do find myself looking at my phone more. I'm not okay being uncomfortable at the table right now or just sitting in the discomfort of I don't really know what to talk to you about and I can figure it out. I have plenty of times. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's I'm not able to sit, I think, in the discomfort.
Okay. And so does that negatively impact connection or does that give you an escape, would you say?
I would say when I'm not practicing mindfulness, it would negatively impact my connection because I'm trying to avoid and escape and I'm not really connecting. I'm distracted. I'm distracting myself.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
I think 2 thoughts. One would be, in conversation, if it's with Taylor, I'm working on just being aware of, like, how am I actually listening to him?
Yeah.
So I think it just at the bare bones level of just, like, hearing him, listening to his day, a conversation doesn't always have to have an outcome. It could just be, "I wanna hear you." No matter what you're talking about,
Mhm,
how silly and
mhm.
playful it is, I can go into work mode very easily where I'm like, "We are doing things for an outcome." There's something that needs to get done, like, I feel like I always have my to-do list. So I think that's one way, and then another way would be working on separating home life from work life, because I think there's a lot of times I take the stress of work home with me, but that's not being present in that moment. Like,
Yeah.
I think I have to use affirmations, which is like, I can handle work stuff while I'm at work, I can always ask for help, but I can handle it there and it can live here. Versus when I go home, I can truly just enjoy being at home with my husband, with my dogs, with my like just being in my space. So I think those are the two ways. And I think it hurts connection because if my mind is at work, but my body is at home, then I'm not listening to Taylor. We're not really
Yeah.
spending quality time together. And he can feel that. I truly do think so. So just something I've been working on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I notice that a lot in my environment too of, a conversation does not always have to have a solution or
Mhm.
necessarily a resolution. A conversation can just be had as a form of connection,
Yeah.
but it's
Yep.
extremely important, I think, more so in those conversations to be mindful. Because if you're not mindful to the point of understanding this conversation doesn't need my input, this conversation doesn't need my solution, but it does need me to be mindful and in this moment with them because there's emotions involved or there's thoughts involved, then that is so detrimental to a relationship, to connection,
Yeah.
right? Because you're not paying attention to that need. And if you're not mindful, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss the whole point of the conversation. I know there's been times where I've started a conversation with someone, and if I know that they're on their phone or I hear their phone go off and I can tell that they want to look at it, I'll tell them. I'll say, hey, I can tell that maybe now is not a good time to have this conversation. Do you care to come to me when you're ready to talk? I put it on them just because it's gonna upset me,
Yeah.
but also if they're talking to me, I want to give that to them too. Okay, if you guys are coming to talk to me and I'm guilty of it, right? But I want to be mindful of what distractions do I have. I saw this video and it talked briefly about the how fast you lose someone when a phone is just in the picture,
Yeah.
right? And ironically, my phone's sitting on the desk right now, so it's a great example. But if I had tucked my phone away, put it away, right? I'm showing you guys that this device is not more important than this current conversation. And I want to be present in this current conversation. But as soon as the phone comes out, you guys might not talk to me as much. You might kind of stutter out. You might start looking at your own phone, right? Just because this distraction, this device is now present. It's now a three-way conversation, right? A, B, and C, and C is the phone. So I think with that, being mindful is super important to connection, I think for me, because if you're not mindful, you can miss the whole point. You can miss the moment. And I think that's what mindfulness is, right? It's talking about the present moment and not missing it. Olivia, I wanted to circle back to
Okay.
something you said at the very beginning, but I think we've done a lot of talking about being present in the moment. I want to shift and talk a little bit about that mind body. And Amanda, you touched on it too, because you're talking about if my
Mhm.
mind is at work, but my body's at home, those are two very different things.
Yeah.
So, what what do you think of when you think of that mind body connection, being mindful?
Yeah. Well, I think while you both were talking, I was thinking a lot about how I don't think the technology or being present is as big of an issue for me when I'm with others.
Ooh, okay. Yep.
Mhm.
Right? When I'm with others, I can put it away. I want to
Yes.
connect
Yep.
typically, and I know I spoke like if it's maybe like someone I don't know as well, or it is kind of like I'm at the table with a bunch of people who know each other and I'm the only person who doesn't and I feel uncomfortable. That
Yes.
is a time I will like pull out my safety device and I'll pull out
Yes.
my phone and I'll distract myself over in the corner
Yeah.
because I feel left out and awkward. But I don't typically struggle as much with others, but alone by myself to be mindful. I feel like I need the
Ooh.
constant
Yes.
distraction of my
Mhm.
phone
Yep.
or music or TV, or it's hard for me to be present just by myself, just in the moment, just watching the sunset, just sitting outside. And I think for me, that's probably the biggest part of that mind body connection is allowing myself to slow down enough to check in with my body, to check in with where I'm at, especially with the work we do. Like you said, it's hard to
Mm.
leave it here. It's hard to leave it in this space. And sometimes I don't want to feel what my body has taken in, what I've co-regulated with for the day. Like sometimes I don't want to feel it. I want to
Mhm.
escape it. I want to distract myself. So I spoke a lot about like living in my head. So I'm thinking about, okay, I need to do this and then I'm going to do this. And oh, what about this? And oh, I forgot about this. And I got to message this person and I got to let this person know. Oh my God. And I wonder if they thought that was weird that I said that. Maybe I should follow up with them tomorrow because I didn't mean it that way. And like all those things going through my head. So I think for me, taking moments to be present and mindful with myself in a space by myself. And I think to be very vulnerable, that is the most difficult thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
right.
to sit in the shower and just smell the shampoo and notice that, oh, my shoulders are tense and wow, I don't think I've taken a second to just take a deep breath and smell my surroundings and feel the hot water on my skin and let myself get clean for the day or whatever that is. And so I think that is like the work that I've been trying to focus more on because I'd rather watch my show and suction cup my phone up on the shower and watch my show and shower and then get done or be on the phone with someone and showering and then go on to the next thing. I feel like I'm constantly trying to multitask. So for me, it's like sitting and being and just doing one thing and not multitasking. Yeah. That was a long answer to your
No,
question.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
I think what you're speaking to, like if we were to break it down, our bodies are constantly giving us signals from our environment. I think that's like the scientific way
Yep.
to word it.
Yeah.
So, you're in a social situation and your body gives you a signal. Maybe like someone said something that made you uncomfortable or remind you of some of your own stuff. And I think it's then, building that awareness of like, what is my body telling me in this moment? And then what choice do I make? And then I go onto my phone because my body is feeling uncomfortable. And I think it was what you've been talking about, Olivia, like sitting in being uncomfortable in that feeling. Is my body safe in this moment? Yes. Is my body uncomfortable in this Wait, I am
Yes.
safe and I'm uncomfortable.
Yep.
But being uncomfortable does not mean I'm not safe. And I wonder if it's, like you've been talking about differentiating between safety versus being uncomfortable and being distressed and
Yeah.
being challenged.
And it is hard to sit in that discomfort of like, I am stressed. I had a stressful day. Like my shoulders are tense and my stomach has been on edge all day and feeling butterflying, gurgly, and like taking a moment to sit in that and give ourselves space is really hard.
Yeah.
It's, like, so cool how you like, even just starting to talk about how your body feels, I'm now noticing the tightness in my back and how my belly is feeling, how my like, it I think it's so cool how what's the right word? It ties us all together. It's easy to, like, when you're with someone and they take a deep breath and you notice your body naturally takes a
Yeah.
deep breath. I guess the co-regulation
Yeah. The
piece or
the attunement.
Yeah, attunement and I think awareness too, just that
Mhm.
reminder of wow, it has been a little bit since I've checked in with my body. And on that note, I think that's gonna be maybe this week's challenge is I love the mindfulness and I love the mind body connection. And what was the commercial? Was it Travelocity that used the gnome where it said stop and smell the roses or go and smell the roses, right? Like that little catchphrase.
Yes.
So I think this week's challenge should fall under that. We need to challenge ourselves this week, I think, to take a moment, whether it's 5 to 10 minutes each day, and reconnect our mind to our body, right? So if we're taking a shower, that's all we're doing is we're taking the
Yeah.
shower. We're thinking about the hot water. We're thinking about the shampoo smells. We're thinking about, maybe our loofah's getting a little crusty, right? Or maybe our sponge isn't as exfoliating as we want it, right? So just taking those moments to be mindful and connected to your body as well our mind, what's happening in our mind, what's going on with our senses, our environment, right? So make that a daily thing. And I think that'll be hard
Yeah.
because, Olivia, like you said, it's maybe not the moments when we're with others, it's the moments when we're alone that's really hard to slow down and connect to ourselves.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I think that's going to be this week's challenge.
Yeah. Some ideas you can go on a walk and look for all the colors of the rainbow. And you don't need music, you don't need your phone. You're just like looking
Yep.
at your surroundings, noticing your feet, noticing how your muscles feel, noticing your breath. You can also do like a five senses walk. What do you smell? What do you see? What do you taste? What do you feel, etc.? What are some other ideas of ways that we can be mindful?
I love just, like, adding silliness to it, and I naturally well, first, I'm curious what your guys' favorite sense is, and I'll share mine first. I love smell, and me and my nephew, we have this, like, little inside joke since he's been really little, like 2 or 3, where we just smell random stuff. Like, we pick up something that shouldn't even have a smell, and I'll just smell it, and then he'll pick up something and smell it. I think it's such a cool way of being silly and playful, but also using a sense that we love. Like, I just love all different types of smells. It's my favorite. I literally have a little roll-on in my hand right now that I love to use, so I think being playful too. But what is your guys' favorite sense?
Sense or like 5 senses? Like
5
what's my
senses.
favorite? Okay.
Yes, 5 senses.
I guess touch for me because
Yeah.
like getting into cold water or warm water, like that would be how I like to experience, or feeling the sand or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love the beach if you're not picking up on that. So,
Yes.
but that would probably be mine.
Yeah. I think mine would also be touch. Just the
Mhm.
textures, just the I really like objects that are malleable, shift around with my hands and stuff. I like soft textures. I just like textures in general. I'm the type of person though, if I'm walking down an aisle in the store, I'm touching the boxes, touching
Yes.
just to get that input. What does this feel like or what does this look like and stuff. So I think
Do you online shop?
no.
No, I don't
No.
like it either because
No.
I like to feel.
Yep.
Yeah, Amanda's probably just
Smell like
sniffing it
Yep.
before she buys it.
I feel like this could be a really great replacement for our phones too. Because if we're looking for inputs or input from our
Yeah.
phones, like,
Mhm.
go into the world and just, feel what you can, smell it. I feel
Yeah.
like taste is a great one to be mindful. I have a challenge for myself to eat slower because I eat
Yeah.
so fast. So I think that's another one, like, while we're eating our meals, like,
Yep.
what
Yep.
is the taste? What is the texture? Slowing your movements down. That's, like, one of my favorite things I've seen and learned on social media is, like, a video of someone doing something really fast, like wiping something down, cleaning something, then they just stop, and then they just start doing it in slow motion, and, like, how regulating that is.
Mhm.
Best.
Mealtime's a great time to be mindful, especially because a lot of times we're with those that we love too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a great time to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So find those moments, whether it's mealtime, cooking, checking with your 5 senses, being present in that moment, looking at the physical textures, the smells, the sights, just really connecting your mind back to your body. Notice what your muscles are doing, right? Notice what inputs you're receiving. So that's going to be this week's challenge. And with that, again, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Human Reconnect. And we are excited to see how you guys are mindful through your connection this week. So,
Yeah.
all right.
There's so many opportunities even within your daily routine. So
Yes,
I'm excited.
absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't require any changes. It's just being mindful and being present. So, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
You guys got this. Stay connected. Bye.
As always, please remember you are someone's human connection and you are never alone. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis or emergency, please call 988 911 or a crisis response unit in your area. Disclaimer: the thoughts, opinions, and topics discussed in this podcast are not intended for mental health treatment, service, or diagnostic purposes. All opinions expressed are solely those of the host, co-host, and guests. Resources mentioned can be found in the written show notes. Thanks again for tuning in to the Human Reconnect podcast.